All right, welcome back to Social Media Journalism. This is Robert Quigley, the professor of this course. I'm here to talk about the tools and analytics and how to get the most out of your networks. So let's talk about the mobile apps first. The main Twitter app is pretty good. There's others out there. Some people really like Tweetbot. Hootsuite is more powerful than the Twitter one. But I'm pretty comfortable with just the Twitter app itself. You can switch through multiple accounts on that and that kind of thing. So it's actually pretty nice. Facebook's Pages app is kind of interesting in that you can basically administer a page through it. So if you're working on the social and end pages, you can't do that through the regular Facebook app. It doesn't allow you to. That's solely set up for doing your own personal Facebook. In fact, if you go and you like things using the Facebook app, that's social and ended and you're an admin of social and end, it'll make it look like the admin actually liked it. So it's kind of weird. You might want to check out the Pages app. I generally don't use it. I just use it on the desktop because Facebook hasn't really figured this out. The Pinterest app is pretty good. You could do a lot of things with it, so I suggest you check that out. Tumblr app is okay. It's missing some of the key features. Obviously, Snapchat is pretty much only an app, so it's obviously pretty good for what it does. And Instagram is the same way. It's just really made for social. So these are all pretty good mobile apps, and we should learn from them as we build apps for news as well, what works for these and why they work. All right, you're going to be using TweetDeck for this class, for both your personal tweeting and for your social and end tweeting. And the beauty of TweetDeck is you can flip through from your own account to the social and end account easily. Check out the demo on Canvas on how to use TweetDeck. But it's great. It's a great app, and it's used professionally. So you'll be able to see why as you get it. At first, it's a little intimidating, I would say. But once you get used to it, it's like a second home, and you're going to say, how did I ever use Twitter without TweetDeck? You will absolutely love it. All right, so Bitly is something I really am excited to show you if you've never used it before, because it's probably one of the most powerful tools to use for Twitter. It allows you to shorten links easily. You can actually make your own customized links, so you could have it say something besides just gobbledygook at the end. It gives you more room to write characters, and it gives you stats. And so you can go back and look at stats on any tweet. With Twitter's analytics, you don't necessarily need this as much as you used to, but it's still pretty cool. We're not going to use Google Analytics necessarily in this class unless you want to be adventurous and attach it to our Tumblr, which you can do. And then you can go through and see stats. I just want to show it off because it's important to know that platforms like this exist, and you should explore Google Analytics on your own to get a feel for how it works, because it is pretty much an industry standard. Big corporations are going to use more proprietary type stuff or more expensive type of analytics reporting tools, but Google Analytics is definitely something you should know about. And here's another little interesting tool called Clout, and it's clout.com. If you're kind of curious, check it out. It only takes a few minutes to look at it. And it shows basically a score for you based on some kind of algorithm they put together that they don't explain that well. But it's basically based off how interactive you are, how many high-powered followers you have, that kind of thing. There's been some reports of some companies actually looking at your Clout score to see if you are a good social media user when they are making a hiring decision. I'm not sure I'd want to work at a company that goes by something like that, because I think this is really something that should be more like for entertainment purposes only, but it is interesting. TweetReach.com is an interesting little tool where you can copy and paste basically the text from one tweet into their system, and it shows you the potential reach of your tweet. Especially if it's been retweeted a lot, you'll see a relatively large number. This has been trumped somewhat by Twitter Analytics that rolled out after TweetReach was launched, but it's still an interesting tool nonetheless. Twitter Counter is just a nice way to kind of keep track of your followers over time. It has a premium version, as most of these tools do, that give you much better stats, but at least you can get a nice little kind of snapshot of where you're at based on what Twitter Counter shows. One thing I like about it is you can compare your account to another one, so you could compete with a friend, or if you're at a news organization, you can compete with the competition in town and see who's gaining followers faster. So social mention is another one that allows you to basically just see more detail on what you're doing on social media. Like I said earlier, a big company will probably use something like Radian 6 or another big analytics tool to give you really in-depth analytics on what you're doing on social media. What you should know is just that these kinds of things exist. I would play around with different analytics tools and try to see what you can do with them. For a lot of them, it's, without the premium pay, you can't do a whole lot, but it's worth checking out anyway. I really like Trends Map. Trends Map is basically a really good way of showing off what's trending in particular areas. Of course, it only tracks people who have their location services turned on, which isn't necessarily everybody, so it's not a full, accurate picture of what's going on, but it gives you a good idea of what's popular in a certain area at a certain time. If you get really popular for a little while, suddenly you'll get a tweet from Trends Map saying you are trending in an area, so it's kind of cool. Facebook Insights is probably the best of the free analytics tools that are available out there. When you go to Facebook, go to our Facebook page, like one of the social NM pages, and go to the top of the page, you'll see a tab for Insights. Click on that and explore around in it. We have an assignment where you're going to have to do that anyway, but as you're working on your Facebook shifts, it might be a good idea to see what's working and what's not so you can adjust as you go. And Facebook gives you a lot of information about who our people are that are liking our content or sharing our content. And Twitter finally unrolled some analytics a couple years after Facebook did, which is kind of nice now to have this Twitter analytics. You just go to analytics.twitter.com to see it as you're logged into any account. And it will give you a pretty good summary of what's going on, what's being clicked on, what the top tweets are, who's following you, that kind of thing. And so it's nice to have that from Twitter. Again, as you're working your social and Twitter shifts, I would suggest you peek in on there every once in a while. And you should do it on your own accounts as well to figure out what's working and what's not. All right, that's it for this module. Go ahead and take the quiz.